So in the video we just watched, Ross freaks out over someone eating his sandwich. He allows his emotions to get the best of him. His leftover Thanksgiving sandwich is very important to him, and he does not realize that if he cannot eat the sandwich, it is a hot-button trigger for his anger. Ross needs to learn more about emotional intelligence in order to be capable of managing his emotions. The following video is for people like Ross, who struggle to achieve high emotional intelligence. But what is emotional intelligence, and where did it start? The history of emotional intelligence. The concept of emotional intelligence dates back as early as 1920 with a man named Thorndike. Thorndike proposed a model of intelligence which included not only traditional intellectual factors such as abstract and mechanical, but also what he called social intelligence. Thorndike's definition of social intelligence has a cognitive and a behavioral element and implies the following. First, the ability to understand and manage people is an intellectual capacity. Second, that capacity is different from the abstract, verbal, and concrete, as well as mechanical aspects of intelligence. In essence, Thorndike defines social intelligence as the ability to perceive one's own and others' internal states, motives, and behaviors, and to act towards them in a positive way on the basis of that information. Thorndike was a pioneer in theory and research on intelligence. However, he was worried about the narrowness of the definition of intelligence, so he broadened it to make it more accurate. These intelligences included language, mathematics, science, philosophical questions, moral questions, tools, children, adults, business, music, and art. The point argued by Frank Landry, however, is that Thorndike never really proposed a theory that included 3 intelligences. He simply cautioned against a narrowly construed measure of intelligence. To suggest that Thorndike provided the theoretical foundation for the eventual development of emotional intelligence is simple revisionism, according to Landry. Additionally, in a paper written by Matthews in 2002, he points out that they present an appendix, which deals with the concept of social intelligence. In the appendix, they argue that social intelligence received rapid acceptance among differential psychologists and spawned a great deal of research in the 1920s and 1930s. In addition, they assert the research waxed and waned in the following decades. However, according to Landry, the literature from that time period does not corroborate that narrative. The only thing one might conclude is that research on social intelligence has shown little or no reason for optimism. In its early years, it was either criticized or ignored. So, what is emotional intelligence? Well, Harvard theorist Howard Gardner defines emotional intelligence as the level of your ability to understand other people, what motivates them, and how to work cooperatively with them. Emotional intelligence consists of 5 key categories. These are self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Self-awareness is the first category of emotional intelligence. This is characterized primarily by emotional awareness, which is your ability to recognize your own emotions as well as their causes and effects. Your sense of self-confidence also falls under emotional intelligence. Ross struggles with his self-awareness in the video. He was not self-aware about his strong feelings about his sandwich, and if he had been better aware of himself, he could have handled the situation more professionally or prevented it from happening. Self-regulation is the second part of emotional intelligence. Self-regulation involves self-control, trustworthiness, conscientiousness, adaptability, and innovation. Ross also struggles with his self-regulation in the video. If he had better self-regulation, he might have been able to control his anger when his sandwich was eaten, saving him from the resulting disciplinary actions. Your motivation is also a factor of your emotional intelligence. This consists of your drive for achievement, commitment, initiative, and optimism. Empathy is also an aspect of your emotional intelligence. Empathy is characterized by a service orientation, a desire to develop others, political awareness, and the ability to discern others' feelings. And then finally, social skills is another aspect of emotional intelligence. The most useful skills include persuasion, communication, leadership, conflict management, relationship building, collaboration, and teamwork. Now, there are some arguments against emotional intelligence, and specifically against calling it emotional intelligence to begin with. Intelligence refers to one's capacity to grasp abstractions, whereas rationality refers to how one uses one's mind. The two are not mutually exclusive, meaning that people can be very intelligent, but not necessarily rational. However, emotional intelligence is defined as the ability to monitor one's own and others' feelings and emotions, to discriminate among them, and to use this info to guide one's thinking and actions. So there are a few issues with this definition. First off is that the ability to monitor doesn't really require any special intelligence. It's actually a matter of where one chooses to focus. Additionally, the ability to discriminate emotions is a learned skill, not necessarily intelligence. And finally, the use of one's knowledge is an issue of habit, not intelligence. Edwin Locke argues that defining emotional intelligence the way that we do, seems to associate habits and skills with it, and that it might have an egalitarian agenda, so that it makes it so everybody appears equal. In 1999, Meyer defines emotional intelligence as the capacity to reason with emotion in 4 areas, which are the perception of emotion, the integration of emotion into thought, the ability to understand emotion, and the ability to manage emotion. Reason means to use the conscious mind, but emotions are based on automatic responses. One cannot reason with emotion, one can only reason about it. Some people agree with this, but say that emotional intelligence means being intelligent about emotions and their proper functions. This isn't a type of intelligence, rather intelligence applied to a particular life domain. And mastery of a life domain is called skill, not intelligence. Locke later argues that emotional intelligence-based leadership is misused. It's not an organization's goal to make people feel good. It's used as a means to an end. Overall, he argues that the definition of emotional intelligence is constantly changing, and that most definitions are so all-inclusive that it starts to make the concept unintelligible. And he also argues that some definitions, such as reasoning with emotion, involve an exact contradiction. And finally, he argues that there is no such thing as actual emotional intelligence, although intelligence can be applied to emotions the same way we can apply it to our other life domains. So despite all this contradiction about what on earth we should call this thing, emotional intelligence does serve an important purpose in the aspect of introspection. Only through emotional intelligence can humans monitor their degree of focus, one's defensive reactions, and one's emotional responses and their causes. So, again, what's argued against emotional intelligence isn't so much the use of it, it's more the term that we currently use to describe it. So, emotional intelligent people, as you might have guessed by now, definitely have a leg up in their day-to-day interactions. Emotionally intelligent people tend to have robust emotional vocabularies. For example, rather than just saying that something makes you mad, an emotionally intelligent person might say it makes them irate, enraged, or furious. They are curious about other people and tend to embrace change. Additionally, emotionally intelligent people also know their own strengths and weaknesses, as well as how to say no to others. They are skilled at neutralizing toxic people and also know that perfection is unobtainable in every situation, so they know how to set realistic goals. Now, why does this matter? Emotional intelligence can help you in the workplace with your job performance, leadership potential, entrepreneurship, and employability. A lot of academic research has also found that it's important outside of work with relationship success, mental and physical health, and happiness. So you're probably thinking right now, wow, that sounds awesome. I want to be better at work and in my relationships. How can I improve? Well, according to Thomas Chamorro-Presumic and Michael Sanger, emotional intelligence is a combination of personality traits. It is largely inheritable, shaped by childhood experiences, and fairly stable over time. However, it can be improved if you are dedicated to developing it. To develop your emotional intelligence, you should follow the following steps. Step 1. Turn self-deception into self-awareness. Like we discussed earlier, emotional intelligence is comprised of many different parts. You need to have awareness of your strengths and weaknesses. Most people think that they have good emotional intelligence, but others might not agree. So you need to make sure that you're aware of your own qualities. To do this, you can use valid personality tests such as the Big Five, Myers-Briggs, or a team-oriented test where all members participate in an assessment. Step 2. Turn self-focus into other focus. You need to pay more attention to others. Additionally, you need to make sure that you are acknowledging others' strengths, weaknesses, and personal beliefs. A good way to do this is to have brief but frequent discussions with team members that can create opportunities for collaboration, teamwork, and external networking. Step 3. Be rewarding to deal with. This means that you should try to be cooperative, friendly, trusting, and unselfish. Use an appropriate amount of interpersonal contact before asking other people for help or favors. Step 4. Control your temper tantrums. Passion and intense enthusiasm can easily cross the line to temper tantrums. If you're a person who struggles with extreme emotional transparency, try paying attention to which situations trigger your emotions so that you can be aware for future situations. And step 5, display humility, even if it's fake. You have to find the right balance of assertiveness and modesty. So swallow your pride, choose your battles, and look for opportunities to help others. And if you're struggling with this, you know what they say, fake it till you make it. If you're able to follow these steps to improve your emotional intelligence, you too will be able to step up and get the girl like our buddy Ross, as well as performing better in a personal, professional, and overall life environment.